Welcome back to Cities on Console. Welcome if you are new. Today, we'll be getting our first look at climate and seasons in Cities Skylines 2. I've been eager to learn more about seasons and climates of the game ever since they were first announced. Those of us who played the first Cities Skylines will remember we had some tropical map themes in the Snowfall DLC, but those were permanent and generally just cosmetic settings and did not impact gameplay in any significant way. In fact, neither climate nor seasons were a function at all in the game, so I'm excited to get into the video and see how it's all going to tie into the gameplay experience of Cities Skylines 2. Before getting into the video, however, I want to ask you to consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, and to drop a like if you end up enjoying today's video or finding it informative. And, as always, please also feel free to drop a dislike if not, as any and all engagement is welcome and helps me improve the channel and make more of the content you all find helpful, entertaining, and worthwhile. But without further ado, let's get into this week's featured highlights.
Life in a thriving city can be a whirlwind.
I want to pause on this opening shot and talk about what we can already see in the video. The Northern Lights are back from Cities 1, and I'm very glad to see that. One of my favorite environmental factors in Cities Skylines was the Northern Lights we could all experience when we played on the Boreal maps. Of course, this will be map dependent again, like it was in Cities 1, but I'm really glad to see it coming back in general. The falling snow also really looks great here, and I really like the detail in the buildings. You can see a ton of variation between what appears to be showing in each room and behind each window. And the spread of the lighting, with some of the lights on while others are off, gives it a very realistic living and breathing kind of feel. They've done exponentially better, in my opinion, with the building models this time around. So, really excited to see a little more of that.
Sunny moments of joy and laughter can cloud over as stormier times roll in. It's impossible to forecast.
So the rain looks really good here as well. And a couple other quick mentions. We can see some quay walls down here on the coastline, so those will be built into the base game, it looks like. And again, some really good looking building models with that varied lighting I was just talking about. Really good looking bridge as well. So yeah, everything looks good in this shot too.
Luckily, the weather in your city will be more predictable, as each map has a unique climate with reliable seasonal patterns. Maps in Cities Skylines 2 are inspired by real-world locations, so your city's climate will be unique to that place. The climate dictates how each of the 4 seasons looks and feels. As one season gives way to the next, the length of the day will change. The amount of sunshine and cloud cover will too.
So we talked about this a lot last week with the Maps and Themes update. All the maps in the base game appear to be based on real-world locations. We talked about a map based on the Lakeland region of Finland, for example, one on the Scottish Highlands. The Mountain Village map was based on cities along the Alps mountain range. So now we're learning that the climate will be largely based on those real-world locations as well. This means we'll be going far beyond just having the 4 seasons in the game. We'll see shorter or longer summers and winters because of location. The length of the day and the night cycle will change as well because of location. It definitely adds a brand new level of depth to choosing a map in the first place, and also for making plans for our cities once we've chosen one and get launched into the game.
Temperatures will vary, and so will precipitation. Why is this so important? Well, weather will impact your city in different ways. Rainy, snowy, and sun-soaked days can pile pressure on your electricity grid.
This makes sense. We actually had this functionality to some extent in Cities Skylines. Power usage would go up when temperatures were high, simulating the use of air conditioning in the city, and when temperatures were low, it would simulate the use of heating. So nothing super new there.
Same for city services, which will need to respond. Like in winter, road maintenance crews power up plows to clear the road network of snow before it causes collisions. If city services don't respond in time or do what needs to be done, accident rates can rise with the knock-on effect of overstretching emergency crews.
I like the look of the snowplow here, and I think it's really cool they've implemented traffic accidents as a new feature. This will add a new component to the road maintenance system for sure. It really fleshes it out, in my opinion. But one thing worth mentioning in this shot in particular is the person riding by on a motorcycle. I'm not sure if this will be similar in the actual game, but you typically wouldn't expect someone to be cruising around on a motorcycle in the snow. I'm wondering if this is just a weird thing due to an early beta version of the game that these videos are recorded in, or if we'll be seeing a lot of this. If we do see a lot of this, I think it could really take away from the immersion for sure, so just something worth noting there.
Seasonal weather also affects how people move around your city and where they spend their time. Parks will draw crowds when the sun is out, while restaurants, movie theaters, and other indoor spots will get busy fast when it rains.
So I think that's really cool. Your citizens and tourists' decisions will be impacted by the weather. You'll see more outside and in parks when the weather is nice, and more inside when it isn't. That definitely adds to the realism, so I like that a lot. What doesn't add to the realism though, and I don't like so much, is that people's clothing doesn't seem to suit the weather. We see people walking around without coats or jackets or even hats in the rain and the snow. And in the last shot just a moment ago, we had a dude wearing like a full golden jumpsuit on what was meant to be a bright, hot, sunny day. So kind of like the motorcycle thing, I'm wondering how that will be in the final build of the game. I'm hoping they take those things into account personally, because again, it could definitely take away from the immersion and the realism that they're otherwise doing very well with, if you ask me.
Of course, extreme seasonal weather can turn life upside down in a flash. You can help your city prepare for natural disasters with disaster control systems, but there's no stopping them. Your city might experience disasters with a lowercase d. That's when disasters cause traffic accidents that clog road networks. Disasters with a capital D are a whole lot more serious. They impact city services and the local economy in the short and long term.
It looks like they're wanting to implement disasters into the game a bit more with Cities 2 than they did in the first game. We can see weather damage here from a hailstorm, for example, and we saw a tornado just a moment ago. Personally, I never really played with disasters turned on because I tend to spend an obsessive amount of time on detail when building, and I don't want disasters coming through and just destroying my beautiful little creations. But I might have to give it a second try in Cities 2. But that brings up a question I wanted to ask all of you, actually. Do you like playing with natural disasters turned on or off? Please let me know in the comments. I'm really curious to know.
As a city builder, it's up to you to help your city bounce back when nature is a bit extra. But for the most part, seasonal changes will be predictable. Winter will run its course and give way to spring, just as night will follow day. The day and night cycle connects to the calendar. When a day-night cycle ends, one calendar month will have passed. So every 24 hours, a month of the year will have come and gone. The seasons will change after 3 cycles. And after 12 cycles, it's time to start all over again.
So it sounds like the day and night cycle and seasons as well, based on how they're explaining they're tied into the day and night cycle, might not be optional in Cities Skylines 2. Personally, I usually played with the night cycle turned off because I find it hard to build and even just to see in general when it's too dark. And I mostly only turned on the night cycle at all when I wanted to see the city lights or take some screenshots or, some cinematic purpose really. I didn't like it so much for actual gameplay. And I've heard the same from others as well, so I'm curious if it turns out not to be optional to turn the night cycle off, how that might impact the gameplay experience for people like myself. But I guess we just have to wait till the game comes and, see if that is the case, and if so, just how it does impact everything.
The citizens of your city will experience life's highs and lows like the shifting seasons. Good times and bad will come and go. By building your city's unique climate, you can create the backdrop for life lived to its fullest.
This particular shot looks amazing to me. The sky looks so much better than it did in Cities 1, and I honestly never even had much of a problem with the sky in Cities 1. But even so, with the improvement here, now it's just spectacular. I can't wait to see these kinds of views in-game, personally. And that brings us to the end of the video. So there is a lot new coming with climate and seasons in Cities Skylines 2, as well as some new depth to certain things we already had in the game. I have a few concerns, as we talked about earlier, wondering if the night cycle is optional at all, or if we're going to see people riding motorcycles around our cities in t-shirts and flip-flops when it's snowing. But overall, I think it looks really promising and will definitely add some fun new challenges to the game, if nothing else. But I want to hear what everybody else thinks. Overall, are you guys happy with what we now know about climate and seasons in Cities Skylines 2? Also, if you've made it this far into the video, please leave a comment and let us know whether you are Team Night Cycle on or Team Night Cycle off. I'm genuinely curious how everyone feels about that. Lastly, I truly appreciate you hanging out with me today and want to encourage you to consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, and hitting that like button if you enjoyed today's video or found it informative. And of course, if you didn't enjoy the video, as always, feel free to leave a dislike as well. But with all that said, I want to thank you again, and I hope you all have a great day.